Let's roll it.
All right, sweet.
All right, cool. I'm sorry, we digress. Give us your shout outs.
You want to go first, Dick, or?
In our last episode, we spoke to Steve O'Wally, a manager on the Army Esports Warzone team. Just as we finished recording, we asked him if he could take a minute and thank someone from the Army family that helped him in his career. This was his answer.
Yeah, if you just introduce yourself, who you are, and then give the shout out to someone.
Hi, my name is Stavson Waller. I'm the team manager for the United States Army Esports team, and I want to give out to Command Sergeant Major David Chastain. When I tell you this man has been an impact on my life, being the greatest leader I've ever met, like that man is amazing.
Can you give us an example of like a specific thing that he did to help you out?
So when I was stationed in Hawaii, he was my smoke, which is platoon sergeant in the artillery world. He saw my potential to be an NCO, even when my section chief didn't. And he was the one that pushed me, go to the Soldiers of the Month board, go to the promotion board. And even when my section chief said no, he was the one that, believed in me. He's the reason why I'm an NCO. And he's the reason why I want to be and continue to be a great NCO. So shout out to him.
Every 2 weeks this year, we've been able to sit down with fascinating people that get to tell their own stories and tell us how they got to where they are today. In this episode, our final one of the year, we not only sit down with two wonderful guests, but give them time to share a shout out. When we mentioned this to one of today's guests, he was immediately excited and he leaned right into his mic to give his answer.
My name is Dave Swenson. I'm the creative director of Call of Duty. I want to give a couple shout outs to some Army vets, two on my team. Dennis Pastafka is a sound designer on the team. And then we have Ryan Ferreira is a senior concept artist on the team, helping to concept out all the cool gear and weapons that the players get to experience and use. And then also want to give a big shout out to my brother-in-law, Jeffrey Jefferson, retired Army and just recently retired a couple years ago.
If you'd like to give a shout out to someone, leave us a voicemail at 703-236-2914 or email a voice note to podcast@ausa.org. Today, our hosts talked to key people behind Call of Duty, one of the biggest video game franchises of all time. Creative director Dave Swenson and military consultant Mitch Hall chat about what has made the game so successful, how the team uses veterans to add realism to the design, and also swap stories about classic Atari and Commodore 64 games. I'm Carrie Varuhaikis, and this is Army Matters.
Hello, everyone. I'm Lieutenant General Retired Leslie Smith, and I'm here with my best buddy, my Pentagon mate, Sergeant Major of the Army, retired Dan Dailey. Dan, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Les. How are you?
I'm great. So where are you, man? You're not in the AUSA building today.
I'm not in the studio today. I'm remote.
Where?
West Point, New York, the home of the Army.
It's the home of the military academy, right?
Yeah. But, home of Army football, because that's what
Army
matters.
football. That's right.
That's right. Let me ask you this before we get started, Les.
Yeah.
Are you a gamer?
Not really.
No.
I played video games before, and my nephews kick my butt all the time. It's like, hey, Unc, that's what you're supposed to do. Oh, he's dead again. Oh, my goodness. What about you, Dan?
Well, when the original Atari came out, I was.
Back
in back in the
Really?
80s.
You mean like shooting the ducks?
Yeah, like shooting the ducks.
Come on, man.
Like Pitfall and Pac-Man. And
yeah.
But my Army career took me far from the gaming scene. So
yeah.
But I'll tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, we have a treat for you today here at Army Matters. We got two gentlemen, Dave Swenson, and he's accompanied by Mitch Hall. Dave, Mitch, welcome to the Army Matters show.
Happy to be here.
Thank you very much. Yeah, great to be here.
So now, Dave, let's start with you. What exactly is your role at the Call of Duty franchise?
So I'm the creative director at Sledgehammer Games, working on the campaign, which is the single player story for Call of Duty. Call of Duty has multiple modes, has multiplayer, has zombies as well as the story mode. And so, I've been working at Sledgehammer Games for a long time. Worked on many Call of Duties, and just really excited about Modern Warfare 3 this year.
Okay, Mitch, how about you? What's your affiliation?
I retired out of the military, out of the SEAL teams in 2011, and then kind of stumbled into the entertainment business on the film side. Okay, and from that, one of the writers put me in contact with these guys, and that was 11 years ago now.
Oh wow!
So I've been kind of I helped them kind of ground the game in some reality.
Yeah, that's good.
Before we dive into the game itself, I have an extremely important question that I know our listeners want to hear. What is your favorite non-Call of Duty video game?
Oh man,
yeah,
that's a great question. Jeez, of all time, I probably have to go way back to Mario Brothers.
Oh
Mario
yeah, that's
Brothers.
a good one. Yeah, we remember that one.
Oh, I used to play Mario Kart with my son.
Mario Kart,
Mario
all that
Kart
other stuff.
Yeah, Mario Kart's a good one too.
Mm-hmm.
Right. What about you, Mitch?
I'd have to say Punch Out. Remember Mike Tyson's Punch Out?
Yeah.
Wow.
That was pretty bad. That was pretty bad because you fought Mike. You were going down quick.
Yeah.
You were going down quick. So when did you think you were going to make a career out of it?
I played games a lot. And so I went and got an undergrad and a master's degree at Purdue University in sound design. And I was looking at, maybe going into film, maybe going into like Broadway theater productions or something like that. And it was my professor, Rick Thomas, who said, "Hey, Dave, have you heard of this? Have you heard of, and he named off some of these video game companies."
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, "Why don't you think about," and I was like, "Oh, you can get a job doing that? That sounds awesome." Right. And so, applied and got my first gig in video games, and the rest is history.
Wow, that's amazing. So how many years ago was that?
That was 2004. 2004.
That's a few years ago, Dave.
Yeah, a little bit.
Now, we all know games are fun. But for both of you, what is the most positive aspect of gaming?
From a military perspective, when guys are downrange or overseas or wherever they happen to be, you guys know more than most that it can be intense and you need a way to check out. Sometimes that's working out. Sometimes that's reading. Sometimes that's video games. So it's entertainment. It's a way for the guys to unplug, have some fun, and decompress.
Yeah.
For me, I think one thing that's really awesome, and Call of Duty is a huge, it has a huge aspect in that, and that's the multiplayer. So the ability for you to get online and play with other people around the world. Mm-hmm. I grew up with my brothers, and we were playing Mario, like I talked about in the Commodore 64. But when we all grew up and became adults and got jobs, we all moved to different parts of the country, and now we don't live by each other, but we still can engage with each other regularly via video games, right? We can jump online and play Call of Duty and MP with each other.
I have a funny story that's I think people will find interesting. I think it's with Iraq, and we were getting ready to go out on an operation. And all the briefing was done. All the armored trucks were pulled up, and we were going out in a matter of minutes. And I was wondering where the guys are. And I ran into this room, and sure enough, they're all in the middle of playing Call of Duty. And I'm like, guys, and I probably used some expletives, like, let's go. And they were literally all the way to the door frame, playing Call of Duty, throwing the controller down, jumping in the trucks, and going to do a real operation.
Let's, for our listeners out there, and I'm sure most of them are smarter than I am about the Call of Duty, but, let's talk about it for a second. So what is the game series and how did it all begin?
So Call of Duty began many years ago, and it started in World War II. It's a first-person shooter. So unlike other video games that have sort of a third-person aspect where the camera is sort of pulled back behind the player and you see the character running around, this puts you sort of right in the eyes, and what you see is the weapon right up in front of you. And so it's really immersive in the way you experience it, because it's through your eyes, and as you're holding the controller, you're controlling the camera. Where you look is where the player looks, and or the character looks. Where you run is where the character runs. And so it was this really awesome way for players to jump in and play and experience World War II like they'd never experienced it before, right? And then you have these amazing stories, really incredible graphics and audio that, again, just, is very immersive. And then you add the multiplayer aspect to it, where now there's that competitive aspect, the opportunity to play with friends from around the globe. And that just sort of blew up. And, the years progressed, and there were, multiple World War II versions of Call of Duty. And then Call of Duty released Modern Warfare, right? And this was now current day, using current day weapons and tactics and military personnel, everything. And it just exploded after that.
Okay, you've covered World War II in Call of Duty and some more modern battles. But what historic battle that you haven't covered would you like to see in future episodes?
I mean, there's so many.
Yeah.
I think there's room for maybe touching Vietnam again.
Yeah.
I don't think we've seen that in a while. And, as the decades progress, we have new perspective on all these things.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe there might be some space for a story there. I just appreciate these guys' willingness to listen and to kind of blend our worlds. Again, they're not necessarily ripping from the headlines, but they might be headline adjacent or similar enough or inspired by. And I think it's appreciated.
Yeah, absolutely. And, the reality, I think, is what puts class in the game, too, as well. Because, as military members, having been in combat, when you watch sometimes a Hollywood movie, you're like, okay, that can't happen.
Right. You don't want to check out because, your eyes roll and you're like, okay, well, this is ridiculous.
Now, you just released the latest in the series of Call of Duty, Modern Warfare 3. Can you share with our listeners what makes this version of the game so unique?
So Call of Duty has historically shipped every year, and every year we tend to shift to different time periods or different sort of storylines to keep things fresh with the players. And so for example, in 2021, we did Call of Duty Vanguard, which is a World War II set game. Mm-hmm. So this year was the first time ever in the franchise where we went from Modern Warfare 2 last year in 2022 to Modern Warfare 3 this year. And what was really cool about it, the reason we did that was because players were saying, hey, we want to spend more time with this, what we call sub-franchise, right? So this storyline within the franchise. And so that's what we decided to do. And it was an awesome opportunity to, continue stories, continue character arcs, continue, players' progression in the game. So weapons that they had earned, where they were able to carry that forward and retain them this year.
Yeah.
And so that was really exciting for the game. Many times with Call of Duty, you would have a game and then say Modern Warfare 2, and then 3 years later you would have Modern Warfare 3. So everybody has to be like, wait, what was happening in the game again? And kind of remember the story. And this was the first time we go right into it and sort of, without skipping a beat.
Now let's talk about something a little different. The Call of Duty Endowment. For our listeners, the Call of Duty Endowment is a foundation created to help Army and military veterans find jobs. Now we at AUSA love that because it's part of our mission to take care of our active duty soldiers and our veterans. Tell us more about the endowment and how you integrate veterans into all aspects of your game.
There's a lot of aspects to it, but you bring up the employing veterans, and that's something that is near and dear to my heart. And there's several veterans on my team, and they're really important members of our team. Thinking about what they do for us, it's really handy. We have Mitch, of course, who is our consultant, our expert, who we go to. But boy, it sure is handy when you have guys on the team, men and women who have served, who are familiar with tactics, with weapons, with gear, to be able to leverage that insight and that knowledge on a day-to-day basis. And so we have like some of our senior concept artists, who deal with concepting the exact gear and loadouts that players have. A veteran, right? We have a member of the audio team who is there with us on recording shoots, who is recording audio of all the different weapons. A veteran, he's an expert at all these weapons, and so it's just really it's really awesome, to be able to leverage that aspect of the Call of Duty endowment to have all these veterans working with us.
Yeah, that's cool. So those veterans that you have, you describe what they do for you. What else do they bring to the table other than the authenticity?
One thing that is real about Call of Duty and making games is it's hard work, right? And it requires dedication. It requires persevering through difficult times. So you have people who are veterans who have done hard things, right? And they come in very organized. They're equipped to handle a high pressure environment. The requirement of excellence is very high for the games we make, and having men and women who can stand up to that is hugely important.
Okay. And Mitch, can you tell us some of the specific things that you and other veterans did to educate the team?
We did something with these guys that I think, benefited everyone, which is we took them to the shooting range.
Oh yeah.
So,
there you go.
Yeah. Some guys have various levels of experience. Some guys had never shot a weapon before, which is kind of ironic. And ran through an entire array of weapon systems, from pistols to giant pistols to submachine guns. And it just allowed them to, first of all, understand it. We talked about the purpose of each weapon as we shot them, and just gave everyone time on each weapon system so that they can take all the things that they learned from it, from feel to its capability, and integrate that into the game.
Yeah, that's very good.
I could see that. That'd be very helpful. It puts some realism in the effect that they produce. The recoil, all that.
Yeah.
It's different than not having a working knowledge.
Yeah, absolutely right.
Yeah. You just mentioned recoil. They're very in tune with that. Like, how did that gun feel? How did the weight of the gun feel? Where is the weight on the front? Is the weight on the back? And so they're trying to blend all that stuff into the game.
Absolutely. Yeah. And Mitch, wait, we need to know one thing. How good of a shooter is Dave, really?
I don't think
I haven't gone shooting with Mitch.
Yeah.
I've gone on many, many weapons sessions. Again, like, I come from an audio background. And so since day one in the industry, we record all of the weapons ourselves and we go out and shoot them ourselves. And so when we were recording for World War II, we were able to go out and get access to all of the different weapon systems that were used in World War II, fired them all. It's interesting, as a developer, to actually hold a weapon and fire it yourself, feel what that feels like, what that sounds like, right? Just that experience. And then to try to recreate that experience for the player. The sound is important, but it's also how it feels, right? It's almost like it's kicking you, it's punching, it's like a physical experience. And so we would actually put a lot of extra oomph in the subwoofer, because the subwoofer in an audio system, so you've got a subwoofer in your house. I can actually, as an audio guy, reach out and touch you in your house, because I can move the air in your room and make you feel it, right? And so we would put extra subwoofer on the weapons so that you would feel, as you're playing the game, feel that thump, because that's how we experienced it, right? When we were firing the weapons ourselves.
Now, we've talked a lot about how our veterans are involved in the creation of the games. But I have another one for you. How many people does it actually take to make a game like Call of Duty?
Sledgehammer alone has roughly 600 developers.
Oh, wow.
But we're not the only studio working on the game, right? So you have other studios like High Moon, Toys for Bob, Beanox, Raven, Infinity Ward, tons of developers, helping.
You have actors and stunts, and there's whole other layers here where those characters you're seeing are actually real people, or a lot of them.
Oh,
yeah, absolutely. We use their exact likeness, and so if you go and watch some of our live action trailers, the characters look exactly like they do in the game, because that's who we're using. We're using those actors. We're able to scan their faces and get their exact likeness. We use their voice. We actually do this thing called performance capture, where we are able to capture their body movements, their facial movements, and their audio all at the same time. And so all the scenes that we're seeing are all of these actors, performing it. And like Mitch said, the stunt people. In fact, Mitch himself has suited up on many occasions in a mocap suit and have helped us get, some very authentic movement.
Yeah. I think Les would make a good character on your game. He would make an excellent character.
Now, Dan, you would be better because you're the right size.
Well, but I was thinking, as an infantry squad leader, that guy you always have to yell to keep up with you. You got to put some reality in life, Mitch.
Now, you'll be the guy that can always get places because you're so small.
That's right. Call of Duty Modern Warfare is now out on every major console for download.
Hey, Dan, I'm going to download it. We're going to play it when you come back.
We should have played these guys for the episode. That's what we should have done. You know what I mean? See if we
Really?
Yeah.
Really? You want to get smoked on the episode, right? Okay.
Well, we can practice.
We can. We can practice. That's very true.
But it would look cool.
But they got the inside code.
Yeah.
You guys should film your practice. I think that would be entertaining.
Yeah. My Twitter would go up though if I took out a Navy SEAL on Call of Duty. Though. It would.
Okay.
I mean? Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah. I'm not sure that would happen, but what the heck?
They're on the same team, man.
Yeah,
it's all good.
Yeah. Well, Dave, Mitch, thanks for coming on the show. I wish we had more time to talk more about this, and maybe I have one final question too. I had to drop this in there for my nephew. Is there any Easter eggs in Call of Duty that
Easter eggs?
Oh, see, Les doesn't even know what I'm talking about.
What did you get an insight? There's some Easter eggs?
Easter eggs in the new version
really?
that we can give our listeners, so it'll entice them to come listen to our show. Any Easter eggs in there?
There are always Easter eggs.
Yeah,
but they're gonna have to go out and play it.
To
find them.
Just for the listeners out there, I tried. Well, Dave, Mitch, it is an absolute pleasure. Mitch, thank you for your service. David, thank you for your creativity. And we appreciate you joining us here on AUSA Matters.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks, guys. We appreciate you.
Bye-bye.
And listeners, I need you to stick around for an extra special end of the year segment right after this break, right here on Army Matters.
Did you know, as a member of AUSA, you have access to many benefits? From car rental to entertainment discounts, the opportunities are ample. Visit ausa.org/benefits to learn more.
Welcome back to Army Matters. And guess what? This is the last episode of the year.
When am I going to get to do another episode, though?
I think you got to wait until next year.
Next year? All the way in 2024?
2024, that's right. So we're going to do something special, man.
Yeah. For our listeners out there, we got something special.
Okay.
Carrie, our senior producer. Carrie, go ahead and say her name.
Verahikis.
During annual meeting, went around and interviewed people. And what she asked them to do was give a shout out to somebody in the military. Right?
Okay.
And also during a few of our episodes, we asked some of our guests to do exactly the same thing.
Okay.
We're going to play a few of them.
We are?
Yes.
Do we know who they are? Are the producers going to just do it? They're going to tell us?
I think they're just going to push the button.
Okay.
Yeah.
They don't trust us with little stuff like that.
No, detail.
Because we try to give it away. Yeah,
just enough information to be effective. That's all we're allowed to have. That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
But Dan, in a serious note, when we started this group of podcasts I didn't think it was going to be so much fun. What did you think?
Well, I knew it'd be a lot of fun working with you.
Oh, I feel so good. But did you think it was going to be this much fun?
Can we play the gift we have for our listeners for our last episode?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, that's actually more of a difficult question than you think. Yeah. That's actually like, I got to pick one. Michael Robert Weimer, currently the Sergeant Major of the Army, the 17th, which is still doesn't just come out naturally. I'm not sure it ever will. Truly humbled to be the 17th Sergeant Major of the Army. And then somebody that had a inspirational impact on me. I think, well, probably I'd have to say my grandpa, my mom's dad, Lee Javlis, or he was a Greek, so Leonidas Skivalis. But Lee Javlis in the U.S. So he was a retired 2-star. Went to Princeton, commissioned an AG officer, and then in 1939 was immediately activated and landed in North Africa with Patton and came home when Berlin fell. So I used to cherish time with my grandfather. The stories he would tell, and I don't know, he made the Army. I mean, my dad was obviously in the service, so don't get me wrong. And that's why I said this is a difficult question, because there's a lot of people that have kind of inspired me to want to serve. But I think just the way my grandfather did it, they truly are the greatest generation. And so the mystique, the nostalgia, that era, I'd have to give my grandfather Javelis all that credit.
My name is Mitch Hall. I'm a former Navy SEAL, and I'm the military consultant for Call of Duty. And this isn't exactly a shout out, but I would like to just remember that, or acknowledge the fact that you guys lost a crew here, I think last week. I think 5 crew members from the 160th. My thoughts are with their families and their teammates. So the Navy has ships. We do have helicopters, but in my particular unit, we were always riding Army helicopters. And we got to know those crews very, very well. And it is kind of one team. We need every branch of service and what they bring to the table to go do what we do overseas.
So, ladies and gentlemen, if you'd like to give a shout out to someone that you like, someone that maybe you don't like, please feel free to send us a voicemail at 703-236-2914. Email to podcast@ausa.org. Let me say that again. podcast@ausa.org. Sounds like a commercial, Dan. Who would you like to give a shout out to?
Well, I think our listeners should give a shout out to me.
You're supposed to give a shout out to somebody else.
Well, they would be somebody else.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Giving it to me.
All right, let's get focused, okay? Get focused.
Okay,
all right.
Sorry.
Who would you like to give a shout out to?
Me? My
Yes.
brother. My brother served in the Army when I was still in school, and he inspired me to serve, and he still inspires me to this day. So my brother, Dave Dailey, shout out to you, Dave, for your service. Thank you for being a veteran. Thanks for being a big brother.
Excellent. So, can I do like 2 or 3?
No, there's rules.
I want to do 2.
No.
Okay.
There's rules.
It's my turn. It's my turn. So since you did your brother, I want to do my brother and sister. I can't do one.
Oh yeah,
I can do my sister. She was in the Marine Corps.
Well, you could pick your favorite of the 2.
They're both favorite. Thank you very much. Don't start with me, man. Come on. My older sister Lola Cassandra Burse, and my younger brother Lawrence Calvin Smith. One was in the Marine Corps, one was in the Army, and we all served, and we talk about that a lot. And they still, just like you said, inspire me today. One's 4 years and 9 months older than me, and my brother's 5 years and 3 days younger than me.
Oh, you're in the middle.
Yeah, I'm in the middle. I'm the middle kid. That's another podcast for another day, another time.
That gives a little clarity.
Yeah. Yeah. And we know you're the baby, because that gives me a lot of clarity.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. But I like to give them both a shout out, and because they continue to motivate me today to do the things that we do.
Can I do one more? Can I do one more thing?
Go ahead, Dan. Go ahead.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I just want to thank our listeners. This has been a great year.
Yes.
Next year's going to be even better, so stay tuned for Army Matters. And if there's something you want to hear, if there's something you want us to talk about, if there's something that you want us to get engaged in, send us a note at podcast@ausa.org.
And say Les Smith is the best co-host ever.
And give a shout out to the 15th SMA.
Okay.
To all our listeners, thanks for joining us. Army Matters is brought to you by the Association of the United States Army, the U.S. Army's professional association, member-supported, Army-connected. Visit us at ausa.org for more information or to become a member. Your membership helps AUSA continue to carry out its mission, educate, inform, and connect with the total Army, our industry partners, and supporters of a strong national defense. Today's episode was hosted by Lieutenant General Retired Les Smith and SMA Retired Dan Dailey, and anchor hosted by Carrie Barrow-Heckes. Anthony Dale Call is the producer and writer, and Andy Bosnack is the supervising sound editor. Unzinga Curry is the executive producer, and the senior producers are Carrie Barrow-Heckes and LaSharon Duncan. Be sure to subscribe to Army Matters wherever you get your podcasts, and please leave a review. As you know, we love seeing stars in the Army, especially if it comes in the form of a 5-star review. AUSA's Army Matters podcast can also be heard on Reach Across America Radio on Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern, on the iHeartRadio app, the Odyssey app, and the TuneIn app with the search of the word Reef. AUSA's Army Matters podcast primary purpose is to entertain. The podcast does not constitute advice or services. While guests are invited to listen, listeners, please note that you're not being provided professional advice from the podcast or the guest. The views and opinions of our guests do not necessarily reflect the views of AUSA. For questions or to provide topic recommendations, email us at podcast@ausa.org. I'm Sharon Duncan. Hope you have a great Army Day. Hooah!